In the year 1324, a king left his empire and set out on a journey across the Sahara Desert. His caravan reportedly stretched for miles. Tens of thousands of soldiers, servants, and officials walked beside him. Camels carried enough gold that, according to some accounts, he gave so much of it away in a single city that he single-handedly crashed the value of gold across an entire region for over a decade. Modern economists and historians have tried to estimate his total wealth in today's terms, and the numbers that come up are almost impossible to comprehend. Figures that would place him above every billionaire alive today, above Rockefeller, above the wealth of entire modern nations. And yet, ask almost anyone on the street who this man was, and you'll likely get a blank stare. This is the story of Mansa Musa, ruler of the Mali Empire, quite possibly the richest human being who has ever lived, and one of history's most overlooked figures. To understand Mansa Musa, you first have to understand the empire he ruled, because most people have never heard of it either. The Mali Empire, at its height in the 14th century, stretched across a massive portion of West Africa, larger by most estimates than Western Europe. It controlled territory covering parts of what is now Mali, Senegal, Guinea, Niger, and beyond. The empire's extraordinary wealth came primarily from two resources, gold and salt. Mali sat directly along the trade routes connecting the gold-producing regions of West Africa to North Africa, and from there to the Mediterranean world in Europe. At a time when gold from this region supplied a massive share of the gold circulating throughout Europe and the Islamic world, the rulers of Mali controlled much of that supply chain. Salt, meanwhile, was almost equally valuable in this era. So valuable that in some trade arrangements, salt was literally traded for its weight in gold, because in the West African climate, salt was essential for preserving food and had no other easy source. Mali's rulers taxed this trade heavily, and by the time Mansa Musa inherited the throne around 1312, the empire was already one of the wealthiest states in the world, even though almost no one outside of West Africa and parts of the Islamic world had any real awareness that it existed. Musa became ruler of Mali under somewhat unusual circumstances. According to Malian oral tradition, his predecessor, the previous ruler, set out on an ambitious naval expedition into the Atlantic Ocean and simply never returned, leaving no confirmed heir. Musa, serving as a deputy at the time, ascended to the throne in the aftermath. He took the title Mansa, which roughly translates to King of Kings or Sultan, a title reflecting Mali's status not just as a kingdom, but as an empire, ruling over many smaller vassal states and territories. Under Musa's rule, Mali continued to expand, eventually incorporating the fabled city of Timbuktu, which, under his patronage, would grow into one of the most important centers of Islamic scholarship, trade, and learning anywhere in the world, home to a university and libraries that attracted scholars from across the Islamic world. Musa was also a devout Muslim, and it was that devotion that would eventually lead him to the journey that made him famous, a pilgrimage to Mecca that would, almost by accident, introduce the wealth of his empire to the entire known world. In 1324, Mansa Musa set out on the Hajj, the Islamic pilgrimage to Mecca that every able Muslim is expected to undertake at least once in their lifetime. But Musa did not travel like an ordinary pilgrim. According to accounts from Arab historians of the era, his caravan included many thousands of people. Estimates vary widely across different historical sources, but consistently describe a procession large enough to be remembered as one of the most extraordinary sights anyone along the route had ever witnessed. Soldiers, officials, family members, and servants accompanied him, along with camels carrying enormous quantities of gold. The most famous and most economically consequential stop on this journey was Cairo, then one of the great cities of the Islamic world and a major center of trade and gold currency. According to multiple historical accounts, Musa spent so lavishly during his stay in Cairo, giving away gold to the poor, to officials, to virtually anyone he encountered, that he flooded the local market with far more gold than the economy could absorb. The sudden surge in supply caused the value of gold in Cairo and across the wider region to collapse. Some historical accounts suggest the local economy took over a decade to fully recover from the inflation his visit triggered. Think about what that actually means. A single man traveling through a city on a religious pilgrimage, casually spending enough to measurably damage a regional economy for 10 years, without seemingly making any deliberate effort to do so. He wasn't trying to demonstrate wealth or make a political statement. He was simply being generous, according to the customs and religious values of his own culture and status, and the sheer scale of what he had access to broke the local financial system almost as a side effect. News of this spread rapidly across the Islamic world and eventually into Europe. Arab chroniclers of the time wrote about him extensively, and decades later, European mapmakers began including Mansa Musa on maps of the known world, most famously on the Catalan Atlas of 1375, a map created in Spain that depicted Musa seated on a golden throne, holding a massive gold nugget, marking his empire as one of the wealthiest and most significant regions on the entire continent of Africa, at a time when most of Europe knew almost nothing else about the region. This is the part of the story that tends to break people's brains a little, because trying to put an actual number on Mansa Musa's wealth is genuinely difficult, and historians and economists disagree on exactly how to do it. Unlike modern billionaires, whose wealth is measured in stock holdings, company valuations, and liquid assets that can be tracked with reasonable precision, Musa's wealth wasn't really wealth in the modern sense at all. He didn't personally own a bank account with a specific number in it. He effectively controlled the gold and salt output of an entire empire, meaning his wealth was, in practical terms, close to limitless, constrained only by how much gold the empire's mines could produce. Some modern estimates, extrapolating from historical accounts, have suggested his personal fortune, adjusted to modern terms, could be valued in the hundreds of billions of dollars, with some rough estimates going even higher, potentially placing him above every individual fortune that exists in the world today. It's worth being honest here. These estimates are rough by necessity. There's no precise historical ledger of Musa's total assets, and comparing 14th century imperial control of resources to modern liquid net worth is, at best, an approximation. But even with that uncertainty acknowledged, virtually every serious historical and economic analysis of the question reaches the same broad conclusion: that Mansa Musa's command over wealth relative to the entire world economy of his time likely exceeds that of any individual in recorded history, including every modern billionaire. Musa's importance to history goes well beyond the sheer number attached to his wealth, and this is a part of the story that often gets skipped entirely in favor of the gold headline. On his return journey from Mecca, Musa brought back scholars, architects, and religious teachers from across the Islamic world to help transform his empire's cities into centers of learning and culture. Under his patronage, Timbuktu in particular was transformed. New mosques were constructed, including the famous Jingirabur Mosque, still standing today, and the city's reputation as a center of Islamic scholarship grew dramatically. Manuscripts and libraries built during this era in Timbuktu would eventually house hundreds of thousands of documents, covering subjects ranging from Islamic law and theology to astronomy, medicine, and mathematics, a body of scholarship that positioned West Africa as a genuine center of intellectual and academic achievement, at a time when this history is rarely taught or acknowledged in most parts of the world today. Musa also used his newfound international recognition strategically. After his pilgrimage, Mali began appearing in diplomatic and trade contact with rulers across North Africa and the wider Mediterranean world, elevating the empire's status on a scale it hadn't achieved before, turning a wealthy but relatively obscure West African kingdom into a recognized major power on the world stage of its era. So here's the real question worth sitting with. If Mansa Musa was genuinely one of the wealthiest and most consequential rulers in world history, why does almost nobody know his name today? Part of the answer is simply how history has traditionally been taught and recorded in much of the Western world. For centuries, the dominant historical narratives taught in Europe and later in much of the world focused overwhelmingly on European empires, monarchs, and historical figures, leaving vast, well-documented civilizations and rulers from Africa and other regions outside of Europe largely absent from mainstream historical education, despite extensive contemporary documentation of their existence and significance by Arab and eventually European chroniclers of the time. Part of it is also the nature of how Mali's empire declined after Musa's death. Following his reign, the empire gradually fractured due to succession disputes and the rise of rival regional powers. And by the following centuries, much of its former territory and influence had been absorbed by other states, meaning there was no continuous modern nation directly carrying forward Mali's imperial legacy and historical memory in the way that, for example, some European nations maintained continuous narratives connecting back to their medieval monarchs. In recent decades, that has slowly started to change. Increased historical research, archaeological work in West Africa, and a broader push toward more globally representative history education have brought renewed attention to Musa's story, including several viral moments in recent years where lists ranking the richest people in history have reintroduced his name to a global audience, largely encountering it for the first time. Mansa Musa never set out to be remembered as the richest man who ever lived. By most historical accounts, his defining journey to Mecca wasn't a display of wealth for its own sake. It was an act of religious devotion that happened to reveal, almost as a byproduct, the staggering scale of the empire he controlled. He built one of history's great centers of learning. He put an entire empire on the map, quite literally on the maps of medieval Europe, that the rest of the world had barely known existed. And he did it all while accumulating a fortune so vast that modern economists still struggle to put an accurate number on it. The fact that so few people know his name today says less about his historical significance and more about which stories get told and which ones get left out. If you want to see more forgotten empires and rulers that history left out of the textbooks, let me know in the comments and subscribe for the next story.